XXFM.
This is Access Houston on 97.9 The Fox.
Good Sunday morning. You're listening to Access Houston. I'm your host, KG Smooth, welcoming the lovely Tammie Lang Campbell from the Honey Brown Hope Foundation. Hello, welcome back. It's been some years. It's been a while since you've been on the show.
KG, it has, but it's such a pleasure to join you again. It's just like family.
Family,
you know?
like just getting back together.
Getting
Like
back
we
together.
picked up like nothing even left.
That's
We
right.
picked up exactly where we left off. Well, you're looking well.
And so are you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. So, you got some big things going on. As we know that, school is starting. I think HISD, they start tomorrow. A lot of other independent school districts have already started. And you, fresh off of talking to the U.S. Department of Education about this study of black students at Fort Bend ISD.
Yes.
Tell us about what was going on there.
Well, KB, first of all, it's a major cover-up in terms of how our students, African-American students, are being excessively punished, and how the district is reacting to it in terms of the study that blacks are excessively punished. I think 3 times more than white students for the same school infraction. But the main thing now for us to get to is how to deal with it.
That sounds like the justice system.
Right, exactly. It is the justice system. It's the school to prison pipeline.
Come on.
You're coming from middle school, and already you have been labeled as a criminal. You're going through the justice system. The so-called justice system.
Come on.
Where you are given a Class A misdemeanor that's just below a felony for a small school infraction. So how can we stop this? This is the question, because this data has been going on for years. But now we got to take it into our own hands. Dr. Martin Luther King galvanized the nation.
Yes, he did.
To stand up. But first, we had to stand up for ourselves. We had to be on the front line margin. And what I'm telling parents now is that you got to step up to protect your child. And I know that they want to, KG, is that they don't know how to be proactive in doing that. So I've come up with 10 tips for parents to really make a difference. First of all, you have the right to remain silent. You are being treated as a criminal. You let your children know. Do not speak with their teacher, their principal, or anyone else without your presence, without your okay, and without you crafting whatever it is that they're going to say. So that right to remain silent, we need to be using that in the school district, because our children are being treated like criminals. Do not write any statement, give any kind of oral or written statement to anyone questioning you about a discipline issue without your parents. And parents, do not go into that meeting, that disciplinary meeting, without recording or having someone in there to support you, because they got their people in there with them.
Right. You're right about that.
So for you to go up in there and thinking you can handle this and all of that, no. We're going to have to be strategic in the way that we deal with this. You send written notification to the principal, to the school of superintendents, and to the area superintendent. The child is not given permission to give them an oral statement or a written statement without your presence. So there are things that we can do. We talk about, we want to try to get legislation to protect our children, but we're the front line. And then when you're talking about holding people accountable, you got those teachers and they got teacher certification. When they are referring our children to the principal, and the principal referring, and he too has a certification, or she, referring them to the DA's office. See, we can nip this before it gets to
The
DA.
courts.
Yeah, before the yes, exactly. So what do? They want to hold our children accountable. Let's hold them accountable. Go after their certification. Yes. And because they are unjustly punishing our children. I'm not for standing up for children not behaving themselves in the classroom. First and foremost, our children need to behave because it has to be conducive to teaching and to learning. What do? You know the laws. Have that student-parent handbook. First of all,
That's
you
very
review
important.
it.
Yeah.
You know it. You familiarize your children with it. And that same handbook can be used against them if they're not following the rules and the guidelines, because so often they violate their own policy.
Ooh, come on now. You listen to Access Houston. We're talking to Tammie Lang Campbell of the Honey Brown Hope Foundation, giving us the 10 back-to-school assignments for parents, as she just expressed. You know, there seems to be an epidemic of our young black children that are being punished in school way more harshly than their white counterparts, specifically Fort Bend ISD. Can you give us an example of a black student being punished for something so small that gets them expelled or suspended?
Yeah, we're talking about issues like uniform compliance, food fights. Now, I just was contacted by parents who are just so upset that their son will be returning to school for defending himself when another child was the one that was at fault in terms of initiating the food fight. And their child only defended himself. You're talking about standing your ground. That's what I'm saying. Our children have less rights than people who are labeled as criminals. So when you're talking about labeling them as criminals, you really really not giving the full story, because they are given less rights. So this child was given a 3-day suspension. Okay, that should have covered it, right?
Right.
Then, in addition to that, he was put on 6 months probation and given a Class A misdemeanor, because the police officer, once the fight was broken up, said, well, you know what? I think I'm going to refer this to the DA's office. And guess what? The DA's office accepted it. The child did not hit a teacher or anything like that.
Just defending himself.
Just defending himself.
So what happened with the other student?
Well, that's privileged information. If their parent didn't contact me, I have no way of finding out. Yeah, but we're saying privileged information for outsiders.
Sure.
Because many times that privileged information that we think is privileged is being used when a child has committed any kind of infraction outside of the classroom. They will use that school record in terms of the behavior to give you a harsher sentence. It is used in terms of military entrance. It's also used in terms of college and scholarships. So we are looking at a broader issue. Then when you're talking about excessively punishing students, you got 3 days suspension or more out of school. What does that mean? That means that you're not getting instructional time. You're losing instructional time. You're talking about trying to come back to get caught up.
Right.
Then you look at the correlation between blacks and performance, and we're at the lowest, but we're at the highest in terms of discipline. So there's a direct correlation. If you don't have that that school, if you're not in school and you're not getting that instructional time, you're going to be behind.
Right. Yeah. You listen to Access Houston. Tammie Lang Campbell, one of the fighters on the front line for change and justice, founder of the Honey Brown Hope Foundation. We are talking about the 10 back-to-school assignments for parents. I am so glad you came on here.
I'm so glad
right
you have.
on the time as school is about to start so these parents can know what to look for. The correlation with what they're doing here with these students and with the criminal justice system, it is the same thing. It is a mirror.
KG, this is one study that was done which indicates that California predicts the number of jail cells by the number of students who flunk reading. And so you see the correlation. If you're being pushed out of school, what you going to do? You're going to get in trouble.
That's right. You're going to go to the streets.
Right.
Yeah.
And what is school for? It's not only to teach our children academically. We want them to learn how to behave.
Right.
So you have to treat them as children and really deal with them accordingly in terms of behavior. Here it is. You can go to the armed forces at 18, but you can't drink.
Right. They can tell you how to put together a rifle, and you can go over there and kill some folk.
Right.
But you can't come back here and even have a drink.
And KG, another thing.
Or get taken care of by the very country that you was defending.
You just said it. Yes.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, we're looking at the total picture. You see, America can't compete when you haven't fully educated your people. So that means that you are going to be on the low performance globally because you haven't prepared all of your children or all of your students to compete in a global nation. And we have a history where we have contributed so much with just not anything.
Everything. Come on now. We are the ones that move the paws. Black culture is American culture.
Right.
Everything that we do.
Right.
They come along and take. I ain't gonna even say anything else. They come along and take, and they try to make it their own.
But another thing, when you don't hold people accountable, that's your own race. We're not tolerant of our own children.
That's true.
And we're sending them to the school to prison pipeline.
Yeah, that's true.
And
not paying attention to them.
Not paying attention.
Not listening to them.
Not listening to them. But whenever they are vocal, what do? We want to shut them up. It's a culture that came from slavery. You got to break them. So black educators are doing it to our black children. So we got to hold them accountable too.
As well.
Just as white people, they're more tolerant with their children in terms of punishment and not really holding them accountable. But look who's shooting up the schools. So
come on.
If you don't stand for what's right, those things are going to happen.
And it's getting even worse. I saw the other day how Betsy DeVos is trying to, I think, federally, get federal money for teachers to be able to carry, to have guns in the schools.
Yes. That is absurd.
That categorically asinine.
Yeah. And then you look at the study in terms of children and families and domestic violence, people who more likely to be shot are people who have the guns in their homes. Now you're going to take the guns to the school.
To the school when the teacher's already dealing with a lot. They're irritated, sometimes frustrated with these kids without the gun. Now you're going to arm them with a gun. Ain't no telling what they going.
No, it's going to be look.
Come on now.
That is totally.
Where's the logic in that?
It is no
when
logic.
I first heard it, when it was being sprouted on cable news, after whatever I think it was the shooting here.
Right.
Santa Fe. When they started talking about it, I said, now, come on, y'all got to be smarter than that. Come on now, ain't nobody trying to do that.
When you're trying to control a situation and maybe that day, some child had a bad day and you got a bad day too.
Right.
And you got the access of having that gun there when you wouldn't have had it, it's just not even any logic to it.
Miss Tammie, you better speak it today.
Yes, KG. Look, it's taxation without representation. Every time you turn around, we're being overly represented in the criminal system, from the school to the prison, and yet we're paying our taxes, our money,
our money,
to those folks like Bessie and those top administrators. Those are taxpaying dollars, and those taxpaying dollars are still being divided when they come in with their charter schools and private schools where they aren't sending their children. It's our children. So it's just it's a cesspool.
Do you even know? I know you have these 10 back to school assignments, but for the parents. But in the broader sense, like, what is it that we can do? Like, what I look for answers. I'm like, what is it going to take? Do you know what we can do, Miss Tammie?
Yes, that's the reason I'm empowering parents. Now, if you know the Bible, when Abraham petitioned God to save one, it was Lot and his family. It was Noah, one family that was saved. So one by one, that's the reason it's so important for parents to be given the tools to protect their child. And then they reach out to other organizations, to the Honey Brown Hope Foundation, to know that you're not alone, but you got to stand first for your child.
And foremost. Stand first and stand
firm. And firm. Because the thing is about it is that now, who's punishing Fort Bend ISD for fabricating the numbers?
No one.
So now, right. But our children are being punished for everything. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying to parents, yes, your child may have been wrong, but I want to see you there protecting your child, even though that child is wrong, because that child should be given room to learn proper behavior. That is your responsibility, as well as your responsibility to stand for them. Now, I want to share with you a personal story about my 5-year-old then son, who was body slammed by a police officer.
5?
5. Yes. And that was, and it's still happening because he was having a relationship with the principal and he was a DARE officer there. And my son refused to sit in kindergarten style. So our children are being taken out as young as 5 when they start school. They being broken. So if you handle them there, it's just like the Willie Lynch letter. You handle them from the beginning. You don't have no problem out of them because you'd made them submissive, where they don't question, they don't get out of line. Even if they're free, they dare not look up, they dare not contest. Step out of line because they've already been put in line before. That's when it's so important. Just as they start at an early age, for us to be prepared. Parents want to go and they want to buy the supplies and school supplies and clothes and all of that, but I'm telling them this is just as important as the supplies in the back to school clothes. They got to be prepared and armed and armed in your way with knowledge.
That's right. Let me tell you something. Come on. You said it.
See, the thing is about it is that thing about getting out there in the street and for a while hollering and protesting. That's fine and good, but you got to deal with them on the same level that they dealing with you intellectually.
Oh.
And if every parent has has the tools that they need to contest this. As I said, when folks start losing their job and being held accountable, you're going to see change.
You're going to see the change. You're right about it. You know what? Miss Tammie Lang Campbell, founder of Honey Brown Hope Foundation. Listen, where can parents go to get these 10 back-to-school assignments?
Well, they are online with Houston Style magazine and with the Houston Defender. You can get a hard copy even with Forward Times.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to the Honey Brown Hope Foundation at www.honeybrownhope.org.
honeybrownhope.org. Every parent of a black student, if you are listening to this, go to the website, read these 10 back-to-school assignments for parents, and be on the lookout because, as you can see, as we already know, and now things are being exposed even more,
yes,
we are under attack. Just earlier this week on social media, you see the young lady at the Catholic school who got sent home because of her braids, and then come to find out she was in compliance with the handbook. And then the way that...
The handbook, see, that's what you use, the handbook. Go back.
Yeah,
you just said it. Know your rights.
Yeah.
So that way you can be effective in addressing an issue.
Yeah. Listen, honeybrownhope.org. Get these 10 back-to-school assignments for you parents, and let's get the work done because clearly we are under attack. I don't know. I was having dinner earlier. The other day, not this morning. And I was speaking with Justin Martin, who is from IJustGotHit.com, and we were having the conversation about everything that's going on and how blacks are treated and Hispanics, because we were like, both being treated the same, and we were talking about how come we don't come together and make this change because we're both being affected at alarming numbers. And I had just asked the question, I'm like, what is it that these white people have against melanated skin?
Right.
But don't
you just
understand.
said come together. Now, as black people, if you see another black child being treated disrespectfully and set up for the prison system, you need to stand up. You need to stand up in support of that child.
Because if not, you're in compliance.
That's right. Yes. You're out of compliance. The thing about it is that we got to stand together. You can't leave, because they knock us off one by one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because we easy target.
Yep.
Because if you know that when you knock down one, another one is right there.
Yep.
You got to keep going. That deters you from what? Starting a fight.
Tammie Lang Brown. Tammie Lang Brown, Lord. Tammie Lang Campbell. You got me so riled up. Tammie Lang Campbell, founder of Honey Brown Hope Foundation. Parents, please, you just heard this conversation, so we serious. It's serious. Log on to honeybrownhope.org. Get these 10 assignments, these 10 back-to-school assignments for the parents, and, be on the lookout. Listen, darling, we could talk the whole hour.
We could.
We really could.
KG, they need to share it.
Yeah. Get it and share it.
Get it and share it.
With your homegirls, when you're at the beauty salon, share that.
That's right.
Thank you.
Church.
Yeah, and church.
Yes.
We'll see you there this morning. Listen, thank you for coming on and sharing this information.
I
so
greatly
important.
appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you.
You're so awesome and young and getting out the information. I just commend you and I thank God for you.
Thank you. I purposely use this platform to make us more aware. I care about us so much, and I've said this 100,000 times. I'm sure, probably with some of my rhetoric, I wouldn't be surprised if the FBI isn't looking at me as how pro-black I am and getting the stuff out there.
And you ask, what can we do? That's what we can do. What you're doing.
Hey, Tammie Lang Campbell from the Honey Brown Hope Foundation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to Access Houston.
We'll be back with more Access Houston on 97.9 The Box.